Hey, trying to get this tripod to work. I think we're good. Anyway, hello. I know I haven't posted a video in a really, really long time. I also have a blog when I started traveling, and I haven't posted a blog post in a long time. So anyway, I thought for the few viewers I do have, I would post a new video. Last video was probably in March, something like that. It is now almost October. I haven't cut my hair since then, so that'll be a good indication of how long it's been. A lot has happened. I don't work at a grocery store anymore. I haven't for a pretty decent amount of time. I quit my job, threw a bunch of crap in my car, started traveling, took a good road trip through New England, did some fun stuff, had a few adventures. Good time, started running out of money. Came down to the beach, got a job down at the beach, and my job down here just ended the other day. The story I have for you today is from my previous employee down here at the beach. Again, I started running out of money, so I got a job down here. It's right up the street at a sailing place, and it was awesome because I'm a big fan of jet skis. I pretty much spent all my day on a jet ski almost every day, like 11 hours a day. It was crazy. Anyway, yeah, jet skis are awesome. The stuff I would do is pretty much, I'm moving this chair so I can prop my legs up. I would rent jet skis to people, rent paddleboards to people, rent kayaks to people, tell people how to safely operate a jet ski, what the rules and that kind of stuff are. And then when they go out, let's say a big group of people renting jet skis, I would go out on a jet ski, hang out there, make sure everyone's doing what they're supposed to. If anyone gets any kind of trouble, which people always do, they'll roll their ski over and can't flip back over. I have to hop in the water, roll it. I had a grandfather with two granddaughters. They all fall off the ski, roll it. And then no one knows how to swim, and they're all drowning each other. Just stuff you would think people would know how to swim before they want to go out in the middle of the water, but apparently not. Anyway, I was out riding jet skis. One of the guys I work with is like, Chaz, we need to ride these jet skis as hard as we can coming to the end of the season. I want to make sure, they're still functioning properly, do everything you can to them, make sure they're working all right. Yeah, all right, so I get to go out there and burn skis all day. It was awesome. Carve them as hard as I can, go as fast as I can, run them as hard as I can, essentially, which was awesome. But I was out there, and I'm standing up around there, and I saw something in the water. And I know what it was. And it was weird. I just saw it sitting there. I come up on it and I carve around it, and I'm not really looking, I'm just trying to get close to it so I can take a look at it. And I get probably within 10 feet of it, and I look down, I'm like, okay, now I take a good look at it. And it's like this creature's head sticking out of the water, and it's like, it was huge. And I'm like, and first thing I thought of was like Shrieking Eel from Princess Bride. I was like, what is that? That's what it looked like. It's like, And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, I start freaking out. It wasn't. It was a giant ass fish head. That did not belong in the sound side. This is sound off the ocean. It was looked like a marlin, a giant marlin head. This must have been a 500-600 pound fish. But the bill had been cut off. It was dead, so it had these milky white eyes. And the current, it was floating in such a way that the head was face up. It was just a head, but you couldn't see that it was just a head because his head's massive. And you can only see 5-6 inches in the water on the sound side. So it's just this massive head with milky white eyes and this massive mouth, floating, and on the tide, its mouth is opening and closing. So when I look down, it's like this creature that looks like its body is just going down into the depths with its head sticking out and it didn't look like a fish at first because it's like this mutilated, giant-ass fish head. And I was like, God, anyway, it was a fish head. It was a marlin. I didn't want to get close to it anyway. It creeped me the hell out. And they don't really belong over in the sound. So I go back and I'm talking to the guys there, and I didn't grow up down at the beach, so I don't really know. I don't know. I'm not, I didn't grow up here, so I don't know all the creatures and the fish and what's floating around. And I was like, man, there's a giant ass marlin head floating around out there. It's really creepy. And they're like, oh, it's not a marlin. No, there's no marlins around here. And I'm like, well, I'm pretty sure it's a marlin or something like that. It's pretty creepy, And they're like, no, it was a gar. I'm like, I know what a gar is, A gar is like this, I call them needlefish with a long snout. And gars get big, but they don't get big here. And I know a freaking gar when I see one. It wasn't a gar, right? And they're like, no, it was a gar. And it's like, that annoying thing where you know, that, yeah, maybe you don't know everything, but some things you do know, and you're telling someone that you know what it is, and they're just like, no, it probably wasn't that, and it just gets very frustrating. I mean, I didn't flip out about it, but I was like, man, I know it wasn't, that's what I said. I was like, I know it wasn't a gar, man. Like, I know what a gar looks like. It wasn't a gar. It was this giant-ass fish head that was a marlin, like, hanging out. It was creepy as hell. And they're like, no. Anyway, so one of my coworkers went out the next day, and I'm on the pier, and I see him on his jet ski tearing it up, and then he slows down, and he's like, looking in the water or something. Anyway, he came back, and he's like, oh, yeah, it's a marlin head, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, it was. Anyway, it was super creepy. I almost had a heart attack when I looked at it, and I thought it was a giant-ass shrieking eel coming out to get me off the jet ski. And yeah, there's some creepy stuff out there. There's like, and there's sharks all over the place in the sound. People are like, you rent the skis, right? And they come down that pier, you give them a safety talk, and you're telling them what it is, right? And they're like, oh, are there any sharks out here? Right? Because people fall off their skis all the time, right? They might not roll, but they fall off they're in the water, right? They're like, oh, are there any sharks out here? And I'm like, no, man, no, there's no sharks out here. And I'm looking at my coworkers, and I'm like, sharks everywhere. You know, because they're everywhere, right? You know, which is creepy. But anyway, you don't know what's in the water. It's all murky. It gets deepish in areas. So, you know, that's horrifying. You know, you're like, oh, something in the water. You look down, it's a giant shrieking eel. You know, it was all sorts of upsetting. But it wasn't a shrieking eel. It was still a little creepy, though. I don't know how long this video is. Okay, it's not super long. Hopefully you enjoy this. I've got a whole list I've been compiling of things, good stories or good anecdotes or whatever it is. But I'm very lazy, so I might not post any of them. It's been a long gap since this last one, but I might. I also have a blog now, which I might give a link for, but again, I don't update that either, so it's kind of a crapshoot. Anyway, I hope you guys have a good day. Take it easy. I'll see you guys later.